Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting. I am Councillor Chris Brown, Mayor of Tunbridge and Malling. Welcome to this meeting of the full council. Your attention is drawn to agenda item 1, which sets out the guidance on how meetings will be conducted, including the ground rules. For the benefits of those who may be observing proceedings on our YouTube channel, members and officers will introduce themselves when invited to speak. See anybody online? Okay, good. So apologies for absence.
We've received apologies from councillors for in-person attendance for councillors Coffin, Dean, Crisp and Atholl.
Any more from members? No? Okay, move on to item 4, which are the minutes. And can we confirm as a correct record the minutes of the ordinary and extraordinary meetings of the council held on the 28th of October 2025 and the 27th of January 2026? Can I agree those? That went much better than the last time, I seem to remember, so that's good. Moving on to item 5, Mayor's announcements. I see we've got quite a busy agenda, so I'll be as quick as I can. But since the last meeting last year, oh, beg your pardon, well done, we're just testing. Item 3, declarations of interest. Does any member have any declaration of interest to make? No? Okay, none there. So back to Mayor's announcements. So it's been busy. Deputy Mayor and some of the former past mayors have been out and about across the borough. And some of the key things I've attended was the Festival of Remembrance at Rochester Cathedral, a jobs fair, Tunbridge Malling Borough Council jobs fair in Aylesford, the special announcement for the former RBLI event in Aylesford, Tunbridge Malling Borough Council's Community Awards ceremony, which took place here at the council offices, the Rotary Club of Tunbridge Young Musician Competition down in Tunbridge, and Charities Christmas Draw event, Label Grange Riding Centre for Disabled. I'm now quite a subject matter expert in nativity plays as well. So you'll have all that next year, Deputy Mayor. So I can tell you all about that. And Tunbridge Philharmonic Society and Tunbridge Roundtable's Family Carols, and the Hospice in the Wheels carols at the Christmas carols at Tunbridge School. Now, that was a little bit surprising because they asked me to do a reading, and it's a very big venue with a couple of hundred people there, and they'd all paid money to attend. And yours truly had to perform for a reading of the night before Christmas. So I thought, with this amount of people paying all that money, I better get it right. And it did go very well, and I got a round of applause, which is pretty unusual for this role. So thanks to those of you that helped out. Thank you, Kim. Other events were I was very privileged to attend the Remembrance Sunday services across the borough on the 9th of November, Armistice Day on the 11th of November. And we've had a couple of charity events for the charities at Buckmore Park, which was very successful, and the event that we held, the civic event at Tunbridge Castle on the 30th of November. So thank you for everybody that's come along. And our last event will be a tour, an afternoon tea at Tunbridge School on the 17th of April. So some of you have already got tickets, but if you can't come, maybe you could send someone else along to help raise some funds. So that's Mayor's announcements, and we'll move on to item 6, which is questions from members.
I can confirm that there are no questions from members.
Thank you very much. And item 7 is questions from the public. Any questions from the public?
I can also confirm that there are no questions from the public.
Thank you. Item 8 then is leaders' announcements. And Councillor Bolton, you have 20 minutes for your announcements, and group leaders have 3 minutes to respond on matters included in that announcement. So, Leader of the Council, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll endeavour not to take up all 20 minutes simply because we have the important matter of the budget on the agenda this evening, and I shall avoid talking about matters that are included in the budget, which is actually very difficult when you try and plan leaders' announcements. The first thing I wanted to do was just reflect on the fact that since our last meeting of full council, very sadly, we've had 2 freemen of the borough who have passed away. Just before Christmas, we heard of the news of the death of Sir John Stanley, who served as Member of Parliament for the whole borough for 20 odd years, and then for the Tunbridge and Malling constituency until 2015. So John was a bit of an institution in Tunbridge and Malling, and I'm sure we all knew him in various capacities and for an awful long time. He was the absolute model Member of Parliament. And from my work in Parliament, I know just how much he was respected there as much as he was in the community. It would be very hard to find a more diligent MP in every single definition of the role, whether that would be helping people locally, getting behind key issues of concern to the borough and this council, and also his work in Parliament. I went to Sir John's funeral, which was a week before Christmas up in Suffolk, where he had retired to, and it was lovely to spend a bit of time with his family, with his friends, the choir which he joined in his retirement, and there was a wonderful eclectic bunch of people there, which kind of reflected his interests. The last time Sir John was in this chamber, which was in 2024, was when he came for the ceremony that we had to confer the freedom of the borough on Nick Heslop and Jill Anderson. And very sadly too, Jill passed away just around Christmas time. It sort of still feels odd to me, council meetings without Jill being here. She certainly made her views felt even after she stepped down as a councillor. She was busy telling us what we should and shouldn't do. Particularly you, James, following on from her service, 33 years in Hadlow. She absolutely loved being a councillor. And for those of you who were at her funeral at St Mary's Church, it demonstrated just how much public service meant to Jill. It was really intertwined with her life, and she's a huge miss. I mean, I don't know where I'm getting my gossip in Hadlow from, really, because it was usually Jill and usually a half-an-hour phone call on a random morning, or instructions, go and see her in her living room to be told what's to think by Jill. So she's a huge miss, just like Sir John. We celebrated just before Christmas the first community awards that this council has done in quite some time, actually. We had a little ceremony in the committee room. We discovered lots of things, mainly that Damien has a hidden talent for photography that night, and that Des has got a new career coming as a master of ceremonies. It was brilliant, though, absolutely brilliant, not just to discover Des and Damien's hidden talents, but also to celebrate what we know and love about Tunbridge and Moorland. Sort of in that room was everyone who makes this community wonderful. We had people there who've been involved in litter picking, people there who've been involved in dementia groups, and the winner of the Outstanding Community Achievement Award was a chap called Joe Shepherd, who some of you will know. Again, he's from Larkfield Way, and he's led multiple choirs, has Joe, including one for stroke survivors after while caring for his own wife, and he's raised thousands for charity in the process. But I'm really looking forward to next year's community awards. They were a great success. The team of officers behind them have done a tremendous job, and thank you to Des working with the with our team led by Jill Fox and Angelina Demchenko, who'd really put that on, and they've done a brilliant job. That happened just as I was starting a bit of a tour of the borough during the local plan consultation. Mike and I had we saw quite a lot of each other, really. I think I saw more of Mike than I did my wife in the weeks leading up to Christmas, as we toured the village halls of Tunbridge and Moorland during the local plan consultation. In total, I was at 27 different public meetings where I spoke about local plan for 93 hours, including presenting 797 slides, not all at once, you'll be pleased to know, and in total spoke to 2,150 people. And yes, I did keep a tally as we were going along, which demonstrated the great engagement that we've had on the local plan. Now, of course, the consequence of that is there's an awful lot of work to do at the moment, and there was going to be a report coming to the Housing and Planning Scrutiny Select Committee on the 17th of March, which is going to look at, I'm just looking at Dennis here, who's confirmed it's on the agenda, which is going to be looking at this and the feedback that we've got. We've had over 6,400 comments on different parts of the local plan from around 2,000 different people, so lots of people commenting on different parts, which is really good, and no doubt that will be an interesting meeting to get our teeth into the results and the work that we do as we go forward to the next stage at Regulation 19. The current consultation that is out at the moment, or one of the current consultations, hasn't perhaps got the public interest, but is no doubt just as important, and that is the one on local government reorganisation. Now, this time last year, this council passed a motion in which we made very clear, and as far as I'm aware, this remains the view of this council, that we don't think local government reorganisation is a priority for residents in Tunbridge and Morlin. It won't necessarily make services better, but nonetheless, what was mooted then and has become very clear in the years since is that the government are quite keen to proceed on it. Now, whether the government do another U-turn on this, we can only speculate. They've done a U-turn on most other parts of the devolution programme, but what became evident with the announcement last week that they were putting another £63 million towards the programme suggests that local government reorganisation is probably more likely to happen now than it was a couple of weeks ago. We've been quite clear that option 3A is the preferred option of this council, and that is one of the 5 options that are being included in the government-led consultation. It's really important that we try and get as much interest in this as possible. It's a very abstract concept to many, and certainly for parish councils who are at the parish partnership panel, I'm sure Roger will agree from the chair of that meeting, that actually some of the impacts of some of the options are significant. And Damien and I are going to see a couple of parish councils tomorrow to talk through what some of the options that we don't prefer would mean for some of the parishes. We're also off the back of a really good week down at the Angel Centre in Tunbridge, in which the exhibition has been taking place, looking at the designs for the new building. Just speaking this afternoon to the team who were there were 436 responses to the online survey, but there were many more slips of paper and different responses coming in from people. So they're going to be analysed over the course of the next few weeks, and the programme board will be considering this ahead of the planning application being submitted. There are changes that people will request and that I'm sure Adam and his colleagues will be considering over time. But it was really good to get a good amount of feedback and input. I was there on Saturday morning, and the stands that we had on Saturday morning was particularly popular because we had a model railway exhibition happening at the same time, in which people had travelled an awful long way in order to look at model railways. Now, I'm no expert on railways or models, let alone model railways, and I enjoyed learning a lot about them while I was there, but also showing some of the designs of the new Angel Centre to users of the current one. Again, lots of people were very positive about the impact it could have. There were questions about some of the details, but frankly, that's good. We didn't go in there with a finished product, and nor should we. So it was really interesting to hear what people thought. Finally, Your Worship, in the interest of time, I won't bang on much longer, but I did want to just have a little reflection and a thank you, particularly to the staff of the borough who dealt with the water outages that we saw just after Christmas. For the second year in a row, parts of this borough had went without water for hours or days in some cases, in a sort of rather haphazard way, as seems to be the case. Communication with South East Water was difficult, if I'm being polite about it, and I know the community really pulled together, and that the communities that were affected are looking for answers, something that we're very keen to be a part of as part of our emergency planning work. I know the officers who were on duty over the time, because much of this happened over a weekend, did a very good job in terms of communicating that message, and we thank them very much for that. Your Worship, in the interest of time, I shall leave it there. Thank you.
Much. Councillor Stokely.
Thank you, Your Worship. In 1974, literally just before we moved into our new Wimpy house in Charles Close, Snodland, we were doorstepped by John Stanley. He was duly invited in and shown round our new 2-bedroom starter home. He was a charming man who was interesting and engaging. He went on to help Margaret Thatcher implement the sale of council housing and unknowingly contribute to the housing mess we find ourselves in today. Jill Anderson served this council and her constituents extraordinarily well. And for a long time, she was proud to be called a councillor and engaged with all members equally. She just loved people. The hat I passed on to her at the end of my tenure as mayor was well used over her 3 times as mayor, a job she loved and was well suited to. She is sadly missed. The local plan consultation at Reg 18 has now finished and slowly will move along to the Reg 19 stage. An extra 225,000 has been allocated in the budget, and I hope that will be enough. It's a painstaking process, and officers are working long and hard to do the necessary work and get the right outcome for the borough. I'm sure all members will agree that the final goal of having a local plan with a 5-year land supply cannot come soon enough. I see the local government reorganisation. I'm going to go slightly off piece here. Like an express train coming down on us down the line. Notwithstanding the fact that we have several large projects ongoing, not least the Gibson buildings, making leisure centres carbon neutral and installing 12 temporary accommodation Z pods at Bluebell Hill. Consultation is also closed on the setting up of a Tunbridge Town Council. We're also contemplating demolition of an existing leisure centre, rebuilding it elsewhere, and doing a Tunbridge Town Centre regeneration. The newly designed Angel Leisure Centre has been consulted upon and will do the job of emptying the coffers nicely before we join up with the neighbouring councils to form one amorphous lump. Since Christmas, some of our residents have experienced an intermittent water supply. This does beg the question of how will the water companies guarantee resilience when all the new houses are built? Nothing we can do about it, however, as it isn't a material consideration in planning applications. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hood, I think you're next, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, LGR. So splitting the Kentish municipal pie in the way that's been outlined by our preferred option of 3A may work well for West Kent, but it is unlikely to be beneficial for East Kent. And we need to be very careful not to be setting up unitary authorities to fail if they're saddled with the inherited debt and without the adequate means to support themselves, because we've got responsibilities to the whole of our county. It is, however, 3A is the least worst of all the various options out there, of those 5 options that have been considered. This process is, however, likely to concentrate huge power into the hands of very few people, especially if we end up with a situation where a county-wide administration is set up comprising only of the leaders of Kent's councils. Devolution is supposed to hand power down to the communities, not to a tiny number of already powerful politicians. The Green Group would like to acknowledge the public service of Sir John Stanley. When I first met Sir John in his office in West Malling, he filled the room not only with his personality but also his frame. It was an incredibly small office, that room in West Malling above the shop. And also to Jill Anderson, who served the council and the people of Hadlow and East Peckham incredibly well. The community awards that were mentioned were an absolutely fantastic event and a huge success, and I was very pleased to have been invited by the cabinet member to that. It was superb to see so many heroes in our community being acknowledged and rewarded. And yes, I didn't realise that our chief executive was had the David Bailey talents as well. And I certainly look forward to this year's event. And I gather it's going to likely to be down at Tunbridge Castle, and it's going to be warmer, so everybody can do a bit of networking out on the lawn afterwards as well. So that would be great. Regarding the local plan, we need to look very carefully, picking up on what was said across the room there, at the response that was being sent from South East Water, who have sounded the alarm about their ability to meet the demand of supplying fresh water with additional development that is proposed here in our borough and across Kent, where there's going to be an expected 13,000 additional homes in each of the coming years. We've got to be sure that Kent isn't sleepwalking into a water crisis. We need to listen carefully to the responses that have been coming in to the Angel Centre consultation, in order to ensure that we listen to what's been said by the community, because they are concerned about the community aspect of that building, and to make sure that some of those rooms are fully adaptable so that they can be maximised, because we need to listen to them, because that is the building that is going to serve their needs going forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hood. Next on the list is Councillor Hickmott, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to go over everything that's been said. I didn't know Sir John Stanley very well, I must admit, but I did meet him a few times. But Jill Anderson I knew very well over a long period, and always found that she was a person who was always friendly, didn't always toe any particular line. She took her own line, whatever that might be. And she'd be sorely missed, as far as I'm concerned. The talk about the local plan, well, the battle's commenced because the Oast Park applications, and again, we haven't got a local plan, we haven't got a 5-year land supply. They're obviously flying a kite, putting an application in to go to appeal to see if they can push it through, which is not very helpful. When we take the budget, I'll have to say, myself and Angus, despite what people think, have no influence on the government. We haven't been asked anything about what the rate support grant should be. Should it go up? Should it go down? As a member of this authority, I don't particularly want to see it go down. I don't want this authority harmed. And hopefully we'll be able to muddle through, but it does make it a lot tougher, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Taylor last. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I've got to echo others' thoughts about Sir John Stanley and Jill Anderson. I'm very proud to have a picture of Sir John Stanley shaking my hand on the wall at home from the day when he opened Pottersmead Sports Centre. He was unique in the fact that he was a brilliant parliamentary MP and a brilliant community MP, and his life will be missed. Jill Anderson, I have locked horns with Jill on many occasions, but I have to admit she was a brilliant councillor and a force of nature. Local plan. Matt glossed over the fact that while we were doing the Matt and Mike show around all the local village halls, I was whisked into hospital for 4 days, and he covered for me without a pause for breath. So thank you very much, Matt. Picking up on Councillor Hood's statement, I know this is my response to the leader. It's not just water, it's every aspect of infrastructure. The government seems to want to build houses without any provision for infrastructure, and we have to keep that thought in our minds as we move the local plan forward. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. I think I'll just pick up on three points. So first, in relation to LGR, I think Mark could reference the fact that in his view, at least, and I tend to agree with this, option 3 could be characterised as the least worst option. And just going back to my remarks, the reason that I lingered the point that we wouldn't necessarily do this is because I don't think local government in Tunbridge and Morlin is broken. I mean, we demonstrate that very well, and we come on to discuss this a little bit in terms of our financial management later on this agenda. The county council could certainly do much better in some regards, in my view, but I'd much rather sort of better the devil you know. However, all indications to me are local government reorganisation is happening and are happening on the government's timetable. Therefore, I feel an obligation in order to make the best of it for the borough and ensure that the future authority, or authorities, plural, depending on which model is chosen, are set up so that local government can continue to deliver services for residents. On the local plan, just pick up on something that Paul Hickmott said, because he mentions the Oast Park site. That wasn't an allocation in the draft local plan. So if members want to protect sites like Oast Park, on the assumption Oast Park doesn't come back into the local plan, then members will need to support the local plan on the current timetable. I mean, let's not beat around the bush on that. And the reason that that's a very important consideration is because ultimately the purpose of a local plan is to control your own destiny within the government's framework. Now, the government framework is the one that we have so much objection to. I certainly do. But again, it's about how much you can control your own destiny. I should say that that planning application isn't, there isn't a live planning application at the moment. And if one comes, we shouldn't suppose it goes straight to appeal. That will obviously be a determination by the relevant area planning committee. On the water issue, this is really interesting because we did something a little bit different to many other authorities back in the autumn when we went out to our Regulation 18 consultation. We specifically asked key infrastructure providers, such as the water companies, for their views on it. That was a recommendation that was agreed by the Housing and Planning Scrutiny Select Committee, and I think it was added by the Cabinet at the time. And essentially Adam, as part of his portfolio, was sent off to go and have these conversations with them. And the letter that has been referred to has arisen from that conversation. Now, it's a very important letter. What we need to understand is how much weight that letter carries in terms of local plan preparation and the determination of planning applications. We have asked that the letter, that our planning officers provide some answers to the questions that I've just posed using their professional judgment. And as soon as that's received, I think it's Adam's intention to circulate that to all members, and we'll certainly ensure that's included on the Housing and Planning Scrutiny Select Committee agenda. I think I picked up on the key issues that were raised up, and I associate myself with many of the comments of the other group leaders. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 9, which is setting the budget for 2026 and 2027. I welcome our former Director of Finance, who's in the public gallery, just doing some informal quality assurance, I think. So the recommendations from the Cabinet are set out on the supplementary pack, which was issued on pages 3 and 4. And can I invite the Leader of the Council to propose those, please?
Thank you. Before I do, can I propose that Council Procedure Rule 6.4 be suspended for items 9 and 10 to allow group spokespersons only to exceed the time limit on speeches, and that other members invited to speak after the group leaders will have a maximum of 5 minutes each. I believe Robin is due to second that.
I'll second that, Your Worship, and reserve the right to reply. Thank you.
And in terms of the Conservative group, although he's virtual tonight, Martin Coffin will be presenting that.
Mr. Coffin, over to you. Hello.
Hello, Your Worship. Just checking that it's not too loud, too quiet for the chamber. Sometimes it's quite loud, sometimes it's quite quiet.
It's perfect.
Thank you. Well, so thank you, Your Worship. I do need to start with an apology because I can't propose the budget remotely, but I am grateful that you can offer me the opportunity to introduce the outline of this year's financial outlook. I will then hand over to Matt, who will add details to the budget and then propose the budget for the following year. So procedurally, he will propose the budget from within the chamber. I'm very pleased to introduce this budget as it's the best I can recall in a long time. I'd like to pay tribute to Paul Worden and his team for pulling all the figures together. I know that he's been burning the midnight oil to bring the completed article to our council meeting. I also want to thank previous officers, one of whom is obviously in the chamber, Sharon and Neil, for example, who've kept this authority debt-free, much to the admiration of many other councils in the UK. Members will be pleased that the combined speech will be quite short this year, as the distractions at Stoke Mandeville take a lot of my time, and it certainly won't be as long as the excellent speech given by Kim Tanner last year. You will also see that I didn't bring any smart clothes in the helicopter when I left the farm, so I'm not dressed appropriately, sorry. This is a great budget. All of the cautionary approach of the previous years have paid off in spades. We've also had two significant events that we've been waiting for, the Fair Funding Review and the Business Rates Reset. Both have been announced. When it comes to the settlement, we did have the stupidity of the announcement of our settlement being a complete mess. The Friday before an official simply said that it had been using the wrong figures, no apology or reason given. Then on Monday, they announced that the funding would be lower by £342,000. and then to save their face offered a grant of £342,000 to make good. However, for the years 27-28, there's a further reduction of £172,000. The support we get from central government will still decline cumulatively by 1.6 million over the 3 years announced in the settlement. With respect to the business rates, we now know that the reset will be at the figures presented at the end of the financial year. This means that any new rates added after that time will be in part of benefit to this council. We are aware that the Valuation Office have yet to work on some properties at the Panettone site, for example, offering the prospect of some good news. The papers have just been published today for the communities, containing the evaluation of the waste contract. And subject to members' decision, we're looking at favourable outcome there as well. Our income across the services is also better than expected, allowing another piece of good news. Despite all of the reductions, and because of the better than expected settlements and receipts that were better than expected, we're able to present an amazing budget. No savings targets and significant transfer to reserves. We're able to transfer, for example, 3.5 million to the potential Angel Centre project if it's approved. We also have a movement into the local plan reserve and to the local government reorganisation reserve, which I'm sure both will consume quite a bit of money there, as well as movement into the general revenue reserve. In total, about 5.2 million. We still work to the 10-year MTFS, and this budget fulfills all the requirements to set a balanced budget and leave £4 million in the general reserve at the 10th year. I know it may seem academic, but it's the financial rules by which we work. These council tax receipts ensure delivery of a range of borough services, including, here's a few statistics, collecting, recycling and refuse from 120,000 bins each week, answering 75,000 calls to the customer service team, processing more than 1,600 planning applications, operating 40 car parks, managing 400 acres of public open space, planting over 1,000 trees per year in the borough. I'm sure that will keep Robin very happy. Providing licenses for more than 3,600 businesses, shops, pubs and taxis. And we also inspect more than 500 food outlets annually. This is all on top of our capital plan projects, which Matt will now outline. However, the proposed Band D rate in this budget is set at £252.65, or an increase of £7.30 a year, which, to make it easy, that's twopence a day to continue to provide all these services for our residents. In everything we do as a council, we hold our residents at the centre of our thoughts. We work for them. This budget certainly is a very good budget for them. With your permission, I will cease there and hand over to Matt, who will add more details to the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Just to put a bit more flavour on what Martin said, when the local government finance assessment, you look at core spending power, Tunbridge and Moorland Borough Council had the second highest reduction of any council in the whole country. Only Harborough in Leicestershire had a higher reduction than us. And in my view, there is a clear punishment from the government there towards financially stable and well-run councils like Tunbridge and Moorland, and was a slap in the face for all of the work that we have done over many, many years in order to deliver high quality services at the best value for money for residents across Tunbridge and Moorland. Yet despite that, and because of the strong financial planning of this authority over many years, our savings and transformation strategy is no longer. There isn't one that's associated with this budget, certainly for the first time that I can remember on the council. And that's because we have been able to identify how we will ensure a balanced budget from now all the way through the 10 years of the medium-term financial strategy. And within that, we've been able to identify the key capital plan schemes, which are where we'll really make the investments on the programmes that matter to residents across the borough. Whether that is the installation of digital CCTV cameras, whether that be working with the Leisure Trust to provide new water safety system solutions at Tunbridge Swimming Pool and at Larkfield Leisure Centre, whether that will be looking at how we deliver a new all-weather pitch at Tunbridge Farm, whether that is the £100,000 spent on the new central path through Taddington Valley in Walderslade, or the work that's been done to secure funding for the new paths and the access roads through Leybourne Lakes, or the extension of the car park at Bailey Bridge in Aylesford, which again we hope to deliver in the next financial year, or the new CCTV system at Martin Square in Larkfield, or the solar PV and the LED lighting at Larkfield Leisure Centre, or the air source heat pumps at Larkfield Leisure Centre, or the boiler replacements at Polt Wood, or the West Kent Business Support Grants, of which another 20,000 we are due to allocate. We've looked at our own estate as the area in which we can make the most difference, whether that's to our targets financially or whether that's to our corporate priorities. The building that we're sitting in at the moment is now no longer fit for purpose as a local government office. This coming year, we will look to secure savings from this by moving into the new building and hopefully proceeding with the disposal of this building. But we're not resting on our laurels at all. We're looking at how we can help local residents. Next year, we're looking at funding our Safer Neighbourhoods team, the successor to the antisocial behaviour enforcement team that will do everything that did and more. We're looking at different ways in which we can help deal with some of the cost pressures in this council, whether that's some of the local plan costs or the costs of planning appeals, and also dealing with the single greatest financial pressure that district councils face, which is temporary accommodation and homelessness. We've helped and we've given planning permission in the last few weeks to a new scheme at the top of Bluebell Hill to deliver modular homes in the former car park at Bluebell Hill. We are expanding our property portfolio in Tunbridge. We are looking at a reduction in terms of the number of people who are here in need of temporary accommodation, and that's helping in terms of our finances going forward. And we do all of that without any help from the government on any great scale, and certainly the scale that other authorities get. So in the circumstances, the budget that we present tonight, and that I hope all members will be able to agree, is one of probably the most positive budgets that I have seen as a Tunbridge and Morlin Borough Councillor. We have been able to identify significant improvements. And as we move forward on this journey, whether that is 10 years in the course of the medium-term financial strategy, or whether that is another 2 years to local government reorganisation, we just don't know. We've got to plan for both scenarios. We are able to plan for both scenarios in this budget, and yet we are continuing to deliver the high quality services for residents across the borough at the best value for money we can. So, Your Worship, it gives me great pleasure to propose the recommendations at CB 2619 on the papers, and I hope all members will be able to support them. Thank you.
Second that, Worship.
Thank you, Mayor. Brief as usual. This year's budget has been pored over by overview and scrutiny, Cabinet, and now here. It's an unusually different budget, not one seeking to cut services, but one that sets out to underpin all the aspirations of this council. There are ambitious changes going on. The extra money allocated to the local plan reserve stands out for me. It's one of the most important pieces of work this council is doing. Without it, communities cannot grow sustainably. With it, communities can be safe in the knowledge that there is a well-reasoned strategy. That strategy should protect our precious areas and provide homes for people to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cope, please.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to congratulate the officers for all their hard work on this as well. I can see it's been a phenomenal endeavour. Obviously, I'm a firm supporter of improved sporting facilities, and I know, for instance, Lee Atwell and I have both been hoping to hear about the provision of a municipal netball court in Tunbridge or Hadlow. But I'd just like to query the budget for the provision of the all-weather pitches at Longmead, which is in my ward, and to make sure that members will have a chance to have this come on a committee before any work or full plan commences. I just hope the leader of the council will confirm which committee that would come to and when, because I think at the moment Longmead is an area where there is the opportunity for people to play freely, and it's a massive change in an area where there are lots of families without provision for gardens and free play for their children. And I just want to make sure that sporting facilities are equitable and fair and serve the community, and that we have a chance as members to discuss this before it proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Hood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bear. This year's budget is the first since the fair funding review, and while any decrease in funding is frustrating, we had all expected the situation to be far worse than has been confirmed. And at least our officers can now plan ahead with confidence, with funding guaranteed for the next 3 years. The medium-term financial plan had always envisaged reserves to reduce over time, and now we have the choice of allowing our reserves to fall into the collective West Kent pot post LGR, or we can invest it wisely in the borough for the benefit of our residents, and ensure that a return for the council taxpayers once a replacement Angel Centre has been built and the Leisure Trust starts to pay a successor or authority rather than being subsidised by ourselves. Across Kent, councils are taking steps to ensure that community assets remain in the control of local people by allowing Tier 3 councils to take ownership from Tier 2 councils. We are, however, seeing a very different approach at the County Council, which is selling off a lot of its properties to balance its budget. We do need to ensure that this council adopts a very different approach, so that if in the advent of this kind of thing happening either side of the LGR deadline, we have not put barriers in place to prevent parish or town councils from owning or managing publicly owned spaces. It's good to see that the administration has chosen to increase council tax in order to maximise the amount necessary to curb the necessity of borrowing to fund the capital programme. To do otherwise, as that county council has done, would be reckless and it would be irresponsible. So it's refreshing to see a very different approach here. The transfer of £700,000 to reserves to partly address the inevitable cost of local government reorganisation is a pragmatic step. Sadly, that hasn't been duplicated at County Hall, where the reformed-led administration has simply buried their head in the sand. So it's good to see that difference in approach as well. While the Green Group remains disappointed that the council has failed to invest directly and design and purchase temporary accommodation at some of the locations that we have highlighted to them, we can see that the strategy that the council is following is better than nothing, and certainly we are unable to tackle the cost, and that was posing a considerable threat to the council's finances. And it's interesting to see that innovation at Bluebell Hill with temporary accommodation up there, which is going to meet the demand in the north of the borough, which is really necessary. I'd like to thank Paul Warden and his team for their extremely hard work with this budget, and it's fantastic to see that we haven't got a spending gap in this year. And I'd also like to pay tribute to Sharon Shelton for all her hard work in the years gone by to deliver us to this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chapman, please.
Thank you, Your Worshipful. I'm pleased to support this budget. This administration has a strong record of careful financial management. Its budget continues that tradition by protecting services, setting council tax reasonably, and keeping the council on a sound financial footing. It demonstrates stability, responsibility, and confidence in our future.
Thank you. Councillor Mehmet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in response to Councillor Cope's question about the all-weather pitch, Yeah, happy to take it up with her outside of the meeting, but our intention is, yeah, absolutely to engage with local members about that. Ultimately, we are, trying to deliver increased sports facility provision for our residents and just make it more usable for a wide range of uses. So, yeah, I'll be in touch with her about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. As well as congratulations to Sharon for the work she's done in the past and the current financial team, I think we also need to offer congratulations to all officers and all members of this council, because they are all behind the budget we have got today. And I have never seen in all the years I've been on this council a council that is so cooperative amongst itself. So thank you all very much.
Okay, I've got no other members. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hickman at the back.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I've looked at the table for the support given to councils, and some councils are winners and some councils are losers. I can't make head or tail of any sort of why. Unfortunately, we're not in the winning section. 3% is the best we could do with what we got. You have to use, can't break the law. I don't want to go to a referendum. A couple of things stick out to me. Probably the biggest one is the waste disposal team. I'm pleased to say I think we're not going to go through the wheelie bin fiasco that we went through last time. So that will be an absolute bonus. And the other point that I really like is the antisocial behaviour team. It's not a large team, and they do have quite an effect, and they are seen around the borough. So hopefully they'll be back with us again next year. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have any other members indicating. So we have a proposal from the leader of the council, seconded by Councillor Betts. We are going to do this as a recorded vote. So you have your voting slips in front of you. Could you put your name, voting for, against, or abstain? It's the yellow one. And then don't forget to sign it at the bottom as well, so it's all complete. If you could do that, we'll collect it and announce the results shortly. Thank you. Okay, members, if you can take your seats, please. We'll continue with the meeting, and Alison has a result for us.
Result is 40 in favour, so that's carried.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item number 10, which is setting the council tax 26-27. Recommendations for the cabinet are set out in the supplementary pack on page number 5, and I'm looking for the leader of the council to introduce this, please.
Yes, there is a slight typo on page 3 of the supplementary where it refers to setting the budget, paragraph 6, referendum principles meant that council tax could only rise by greater than 3% of £5. That should be 3% or £5, not 3% of £5. Otherwise, that would cause a little bit of an issue going forward. So subject to that one letter amendment, as Martin laid out, we are proposing a 3% increase, which works out at £7.30, and I'm happy to propose that. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, happy to second that. Thank you.
Do we have any members wish to speak? If not, we'll move to the vote, and we have to record that as well. So we're now going to be using the green slip, please. Thank you very much. If you could vote for, against, or abstain, put your name and sign it as well. We'll collect that in a moment. Thank you. Thank you, members. Thank you very much. We have a result. Alison, could you give us the numbers, please? Everyone settle down. Thank you.
I can confirm that we have 40 voted in favour, none against, and no abstentions. So that is carried.
Well done. Thank you very much. So before we proceed, we just had a question about why we're doing it on ballot papers, and it is a legal requirement to do that. So, and it's also in our constitution as well. So that's why we've been doing that, which is, as I said, a legal requirement. Can I, before we proceed, propose that council procedure 6.4 is applied for the remainder of the meeting? So we're going back to the normal procedure. Can I have a second of that? Agreed. So we're back to normal procedures, and we're going on to agenda item 11, which is local council tax reduction scheme for 26-27. And I invite the leader of the council to present.
Thank you. This was considered at cabinet meeting last week, and I'm happy to propose recommendations. Thank you.
Happy to second, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from members, or can we agree that recommendation? Thank you very much. Item 12 then, Treasury Management Update and Treasury Management and Annual Investment Strategy for 26-27. Recommendations from the Cabinet set out in the supplementary pack on page 9. And Leader of the Council, please.
This matter was also considered at the cabinet meeting last week, and I'm happy to propose the recommendations.
Happy to second, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any members, any comments, or can we agree that recommendation? Okay, so moving on to agenda item 13, which is the Localism Act pay policy. The recommendations of the General Purposes Committee of the 21st of January 2026 set out on page 329 of the agenda pack. And can I ask Councillor Rhodes to propose that, please?
Certainly like to propose that, Chairman. Fully debated, like it to become part of this council.
Seconded by the Leader of the Council. Any members? Yes, sir. Councillor Clokey, go ahead.
Thank you. One element of the policy that was discussed quite heavily, both in terms of the policy and in the pay award that came after it, was the elements that were considered as part of the pay policy, and specifically on that, whether or not we should consider, alongside all the other elements on there, the level of the real living wage. Now, as it happens, we did consider the level of real living wage when we were considering pay. It was a large part of the discussion we had, but it's not part of the policy, and it feels like something that we should consider alongside the other elements, noting it would not bind us to following the level of the real living wage as a minimum pay level. So I would like to propose, as much to deal with future years' policies as this one, that in section 3 under annual pay award, in the bullet pointed list, we add the level of the real living wage as one of the items on the list. Thank you.
So you're proposing an amendment to the
Yes.
tabled amendment. Do you have a seconder for that?
Can I second that, please?
Yes, yes, so it's seconded. So any comments, anyone? Councillor Bolton?
Thank you very much. I was just getting up in front of me the relevant section, which I'm assuming is on page 3 of the annex. This was debated at the General Purposes Committee that met at the end of January. So for those of you who were at that meeting, I apologise because I will repeat what I said there. Essentially, the considerations that are being taken into account by this by this council include public sector pay rates, the council's financial situation, inflation levels, the rate of pay in neighbouring authorities, and recruitment and retention levels. Something that this council does is set pay, and I think it's right that this council sets pay, because what alternative authorities do is follow something called the Green Book. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Green Book or have read the Green Book, essentially that is a national pay claim that is done nationally, and I don't think it's right or appropriate that that the pay policy or the pay awards, which will be subject of the next item, is done nationally. We've got to have the flexibility within our pay policy to adapt to different circumstances. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do, and we've seen us do that in terms of how we've adapted by bringing in a market supplement for some roles where we've got particular issues. The critical reason why I've been able to do that is because our pay policy isn't as prescriptive as it certainly is for some authorities and other authorities who follow the Green Book way. And so naturally, I'd be very, very reluctant to hamstrung ourselves further by adding to this list. I think this list gives a very broad indication, and the policy should absolutely be broad, given it's our highest level of expenditure. Of course, public sector pay rates are determined by different bodies, and there's different remuneration panels that exist across other parts of the public sector. I think it's right that those organisations are able to deal with their professional bodies as appropriate, and in some cases the government sets the level of pay. I do feel that we shouldn't hamstring ourselves by looking to increase that list. We need to keep the maximum flexibility we can, and therefore, the same reasons that I mentioned the General Purposes Committee, I'm not in favour of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on the amendment, Councillor Cope?
Thank you. And I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Cloke here because I think it's actually a brilliant idea. I disagree with the Leader of the Council in that I don't think it creates more barriers. In fact, I think it makes us more attractive as an employer. And I also think it recognises the very real difficulties that those on the lower end of the pay scale face in the current economy and the cost of living crisis. And I think that actually not only does it make us a more attractive place to work, I think it's compassionate and the decent thing to do, as more importantly. Thank you.
Can I ask how much extra this would cost?
Later to answer to that question. Just to clarify, this is a suggestion that we include the real living wage as one of the elements that we consider when setting the pay policy. It's not a commitment to follow the real living wage as a lower base for our pay policy. So I don't think there's necessarily a direct cost associated, because obviously you might consider it and then not adopt it in that year.
The cost of adjusting pay for lower graded roles for the year starting 1st of April 2026 was included in the report to General Purposes Committee, and that figure was calculated at £54,469 for this coming financial year only.
Thanks very much. So no other members are indicating. So we have a amendment proposed by Councillor Clokey, and that's been seconded. We'll do this by show of hands. So all those in favour of the amendment? And all those against? Okay, so it's a split vote, and I will go with status quo. So that is defeated. Okay, so we now move on to the substantive proposal from the Leader of the Council, seconded by Councillor Betts. All those in favour of that recommendation? The original one? Okay, so I think that's 24-4, so that has been passed. Thank you very much. Right, so we'll move on to agenda item 13.
On a point of order, we probably ought to ask if anyone's against.
Anyone against? That's no. Or abstention, sorry. Sorry, we had a vote for, and then have we had a vote against? Sorry, I'm getting confused now. Right. So we just what?
Vote against.
Right, big one. So let's have a vote against the recommendation. And anyone abstaining? Thank you. Sorry about that. Got a little bit confused. Just adding it up. Okay.
22 in favour.
22 in favour, 18 abstentions. Beg pardon. Thank you very much, members. So moving on to, where are we? 13, 14 now. Pay award. Pay award for 26-28. Recommendations of the General Purposes Committee of 21st of January set out on pages 343 of the agenda pack. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Worship, thank you. Again, fully debated, fully supported. Let's make it part of this council, please. Thank you.
Happy to second.
Okay, so any comments, members, or are we happy to agree that recommendation? Agreed. Okay, thank you very much. Item 15 then is the Tunbridge Community Governance Review, and the Chief Executive will introduce his report and to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report marks the conclusion of a formal community governance review that this full council agreed to undertake at its meeting on the 18th of February 2025. The primary question being considered by the review is whether to establish a town council in the currently unparished parts of Tunbridge. As part of the review, the council conducted 2 formal public consultation exercises. The first confirmed clear public support at 42% of respondents in favour of establishing a new town council. And the second consultation addressed more detailed considerations relating to warding arrangements, number of councillors, and whether the town council should have a mayor. The work has been overseen by a cross-party group of borough councillors who have been closely involved in every stage in this process, including putting forward the recommendations in front of you this evening. Through you, Mayor, please may I take the opportunity to thank the members of the working group and the officers who supported them for delivering this review to a very high standard. There are 7 recommendations for decision and 2 recommendations for noting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Walton.
Thank you. As the Chief Executive said, a huge thank you to all of the officers from various different parts of the council who've supported the Community Governance Review for Tunbridge over the last year, and a thank you to the members who are part of the working group. I won't repeat what Chief Executive said other than to pay attention towards the recommendations, of which there were many. After the first consultation, it was established that residents would like a town council in Tunbridge, which in my view is necessary after local government reorganisation has taken place. I think it is only appropriate that you have a town council for the currently unparished area, given the challenges that a larger authority than Tunbridge and Morley will face. The other aspect that came out of the second consultation was a clear preference in terms of wardings, in terms of noting that the preference was for a mayor, and obviously confirming some of the electoral arrangements in that the town council will elect in 2027 and subsequently be formed afterwards. The one area where there was some difference of opinion in the consultation was with regards to the number of councillors, and a point that I made at the Tunbridge Community Forum last night that I shall repeat here is that depending on how you analyse your results, you can say that both of the following statements are true. It is true to say that more people in the consultation preferred to have 13 councillors on Tunbridge Town Council than any other figure. But it's also true to say that more people would prefer more than 13 councillors than 13 councillors. The view of the working group that is reflected at paragraph 3.5b of the report is that 18 councillors should sit on the town council, representing 6 different wards. They are based off the current borough wards, including a new ward called Oast, which currently comprises of the part of Hildenborough ward that is in the unparished area of Tunbridge. And I think that's only appropriate, looking at particularly the number of councillors, parish and town councillors elsewhere in the borough, and the electorates that they represent. I'm looking forward to the new town council being established, and obviously, even if local government reorganisation happens, there will be a period of overlap between this authority and the town council coming into being, and it'll be very interesting to see how it approaches its affairs in Tunbridge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hoskins, please.
Yes, thank you. One of my colleagues the other night kindly pointed out that I first started campaigning for a town council in Tunbridge 100 years ago, which is pretty good because I haven't reached that age yet. So at -25, I was very far-sighted and also very alone. And it's wonderful to see this come to fruition. I would also like to support the idea of 18 councillors, particularly when you look at the number of councillors on different parishes round and about. I noticed that Aylesford, being a third of the size of Tunbridge, has 2 more than 18. So we're not being unique in having that number. And I do wonder too whether people realise that town councillors actually aren't paid, and maybe they thought 13 means they'd have to pay less money for their councillors. But actually, as somebody said last night at the forum, town councillors do it for the love. They believe in their community and they want to make their community better. And I think 18 heads would be better at doing that than 13. So I would support that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Thornhill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I very much welcome what I regard as an historic decision we're making tonight. When this authority was first established, I always thought it was sad that Tunbridge did not become parish, although I always said it should only become parish if people in Tunbridge wanted it. And I'm pleased that's now been delivered as a result, I think, of local government reform being on the agenda. And I think it's going to be really important that parishes, including a Tunbridge Town Council, will continue to be the representatives of their local area, because these new unitary authorities will be big. They will have fewer councillors representing more people per ward, and therefore they will be more remote. And therefore I'm really pleased that Tunbridge is to get a town council.
Thank you. Councillor Cope.
Thank you. I am also very pleased with this news. I think my hands have nearly thawed out from the last very cold day I was canvassing for signatures on this. I would just like to express my hope that the people of Tunbridge will be given an opportunity through local government reorganisation to feel a real ownership of some of the assets in town, including Haysden Country Park, which I feel really sort of sums up what the town is like and runs with an amazing group of volunteers, and that it feels really important that things that make Tunbridge special and that people in Tunbridge feel very strongly about, they will be able to have some control over. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hood.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to thank all the people who over many, many years have campaigned for a Tunbridge Town Council. In order to make this possible, I'd like to thank all the officers who've been part of this as well. I think that the communications team at the council have done an absolutely sterling job throughout. And the members of the working group as well. It's been a really collaborative process. We've had councillors from all over the borough have been involved with that, and we've had the benefit of the experience of people like Councillor Tatton involved in all that. I think that 18 councillors represents a sensible number in order to enable a large enough group of members of various backgrounds to hopefully come forward to work collaboratively for the benefit of the town. I think 30 would make the council too large and unwieldy. 13 would be too few. So in the style of Goldilocks, I think that 18 is just right. Looking at the table at Annex 4, I think that 18 councillors actually brings us into line with most of the larger towns in Kent that have their own town councils. So I think if we agree tonight, then we're on the right track. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Coakley.
Thank you. Just briefly, again, I'd like to weigh in on thanking all the officers that supported the working group, all the other members of the working group, as we almost always agreed on what we should do. And also everyone that responded to either of the consultations or signed the petition. When you look at the response rates from consultations in other nearby authorities and compare it to the number of people that responded to the ones here, I think we can say we've got a very engaged population in Tunbridge. And thank you all for everyone that went on a website and filled in something titled Community Governance Review.
Okay, any more members want to speak on that? If not, you put me off now. What are we doing? Yes, I'm quite happy to remove the recommendations. Matt, go ahead.
I was going to be happy to propose recommendations, but if you've just proposed them, then I'll second them.
I'm happy to propose recommendations. 3.2 to 3.10 on pages 371 to 372 of the agenda pack. That's seconded by the leader of the council. Can we agree that recommendation? Excellent, thank you very much. So moving on to item 16 then, changes to the constitution. This report recommends changes to the constitution in respect of committee procedure rules. There's recommendations set out on 3.1. Any members want to comment on that? Councillor Thornwell first, thank you.
Thank you. I support the change being proposed here because I think it's a useful clarification with us facing a decision on the Bradburn application that crosses the boundary between areas 3 and 2. I can't remember this happening for a very long time. I think it happened when Kings Hill was approved.
Just working. That's working.
Right, some of them working and there's none of them on yours working. Would you, because it's obviously on YouTube and live, would you be able to move, or we'll just see if we can fix it? For members online, we've just got a technical problem, so we're just gonna see if we can fix it. If we can't fix it, David, would you mind just sitting at the front and finishing what you want to say so we've got it recorded? Yeah, I think he does.
Oh, no time.
I just wanted to say that I support this constitution amendment. I think it's a useful clarification, given we've got the Bradburn application coming to areas 3 and 2 successively on the same night. I can't remember that happening until, as I was saying, back in the days of Kings Hill. But I think this is a useful thing, and I hope the council adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Plenty of time. Anybody else that would like to speak on this item? If not, I'm quite happy to propose it myself. So the recommendations set out in 3.1 of the agenda pack. Leader of the council, can we agree that, please? Well done, thank you. Item 17 then, so going on to matters for information. Item 17, review of the minutes set out in the Green Minute Book, published as a supplement. As this is a matter for information, can we receive and note those, please? Thank you very much. Item 18 is sealing the documents. Yes, thank you very much. We can incorporate those into the minutes and proceedings. Moving on to agenda item 19, which is exclusion of the press and public. Can I propose that the press and public are excluded from the remainder of the meeting so as not to disclose any exempt information? Can I have a second for that? Leader of the council, can we agree that? Okay, so we'll move into camera now. Good night. Thank you very much for coming. Love to see you. And it's nothing personal.
Alan, can you confirm when the live stream has stopped, please?